Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour film, is bringing the concert experience to the big screen, and it's already brought in over $100 million just in pre-sale tickets. And I'm chatting with PR Wiz and my close friend Michael Corrigan here, a Swiftie who has seen the Eras Tour 3 times. So thank you so much for your time today.
Oh my gosh, of course. I was beyond flattered when you asked me to do this, and I could literally talk about Taylor for eras. So
I
this is
I
perfect.
love it, and thank you for dressing for the occasion.
Nothing better. I almost wore my Travis Kelsey jersey, but I was like, you know what? We're specifically talking about the Eras Tour, so I'm gonna rock the tour merch.
Okay, so you were at opening night in Arizona. I mean, because this was before like spoilers and set lists and everything out. I mean, tell me a little bit about that experience.
That was a very surreal experience because, as you know, with social media, concert footage gets splashed absolutely everywhere. So rarely do you get to see a concert and not know what the costumes are, not know what the set list is, have no idea what she's going to perform or not, or when, or, it was a show that was completely a surprise. And I ended up going to that show with a group of friends where we are all diehard Swifties. We actually have a text chain called We Heart Taylor where we only exclusively, for the record, talk about Taylor. And it is always fun because it's always through a place of positivity and excitement. And I remember when we got tickets to that, it was such a trip. And I think to be there, and not know what was coming, it just felt like the entire place was just nothing but diehard fans. Like every single person was in costume, it felt like. And we had really also done the legwork to make really extensive costumes. And this was before like the friendship bracelet era kicked in. And this was all very fresh. And it was it was so amazingly fun. I'm also going to say though too, it was a little overwhelming because I am someone who can get a little visually overstimulated. And it was just because I had that in that instance, didn't know what was going to happen. And there was so much excitement in the air. I still sometimes to this day don't feel like we actually were there for that. Like it felt like it was like almost an out of body experience. And it wasn't until I went back and saw it a couple other times that I felt like a little bit more present
Yeah.
in the concert going experience, because it was like that opening night was, I don't know if we'll ever get the opportunity to do that ever again, but because it was so amazing, it was almost this like out of body, out of this world experience.
I mean, because you think like any headlining act will do 15 to 20 something songs, and that's like, a lot of songs for someone to sing. And to her going 40 plus, I mean, that was just like, if you were a fan and you were here for the Eras, I mean, she 100% delivered.
It was insane. Like I just remember being like, I can't believe that this is going to be the show that she's going to do every single night. Like I am exhausted after watching that show. Like I think just at this like age of being a little bit older, it takes more out of me emotionally and physically. I just can't jump up and down or flip my hair quite like I used to. And I just remember after every time I saw it, just being so emotionally exhausted the next day, but being so satisfied and happy and grateful. I have had multiple people be like, "Oh wow, you've gone 3 times. It would have been nice to go once." Like, oh, thanks, awesome. I felt like I had my own slight backlash a little bit over how much I was lucky to go. I feel very fortunate to go.
I'm not mad. I spent probably more time on Ticketmaster than I did talking to some of my relatives this summer, but I was like hoping for the chance to at least get to see one of the Midwest shows. So I was trying for Chicago and hoping, she would have added another date or whatnot. But I'm excited to see the movie. It's going to be my first time, and I've kept my spoilers like to a minimum because I want to just experience the movie and the concert.
Well, then you're gonna have like better than a front row experience, because if you don't know what is coming, and even from the previews that I have seen, it just looks very immersive, which I feel like is a word that gets thrown around a lot, but it just seems like there's going to be opportunity to feel like you are on stage with her, or you're, like seeing it from the roof of the stadium, or like it just seems like they went all out in terms of the production and the the filming of it. And to be honest, I actually was there when they were filming it because I was lucky enough to see it at SoFi in LA. And I think I'm really hoping that we're going to be on camera because the camera was by us a lot. And I had just dyed my hair blonde. I was in like a Midnight's sweater vest look. I was easily the tallest person. And I was jumping up and down and screaming and like waving this like glow up wristband like right in front of the camera. So maybe.
Okay, on a personal level, I can't wait to see this movie, but I'm going to keep a special eye out for you to see. Like that's going to make the movie even better than expected.
It would be wild if that happened. It was cool though, just to like even be there, like period. But then to see them like filming that too. So I kind of had a feeling, oh, something's coming. Like I didn't realize like the route she was going to go, and just what a genius route that has proven to be, both from a marketing and also lucrative perspective for her. But I definitely had a feeling something was coming.
Because what I love about her in this tour was that it just kept bringing so much positivity, but also it felt like it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it was just everybody was talking, every newscast, every blog, people were outside the stadiums. Like it felt like it just kept growing and growing. Did you experience that, like from the first show to the second show to the third?
Absolutely. I think it just became such a moment in history, like in our time, in a way of it being kind of like the tour of the moment. Like I think you couldn't avoid it. And so for anyone who's not a fan of Taylor, I'm sorry, because it literally was unavoidable. It still is for the most part. And I think that for me it was interesting because at this point in her career, I didn't think she was necessarily winning any new fans. And I was totally wrong, because I have friends who weren't fans of hers prior that ended up going to the concert. Or I have friends who I would have never thought would have wanted to go to a Taylor show, or like, she's going to be in Indianapolis next year, we should try and get tickets. So I do think that she still is broadening her fan base in a way that I didn't think was even possible. And I do think that just the excitement and the enthusiasm for it only grew because people felt like they were, I think, in some ways interacting with the show itself. I think the friendship bracelet thing really took on a life of its own. And it was so nuts to see when we were in LA, and that we were actually right by like the celebrity talent tents, and we were there and seeing just like different celebrities exchanging wristbands with just like random fans and kids. Like it was so cool to see like the likes of a Channing Tatum or a Sarah Michelle Gellar when we were there, to just see people like just loving Taylor and just having such a blast no matter who they are or where they came from. And it definitely felt like it continued to only grow. So it would make sense that now she's taking it to the big screen, and that it's anyone else who did not have the chance to get to go now can go and can see the show for themselves and see what everyone's talking about.
And especially coming off of a couple of years where everybody was by themselves and everyone was like, here's what I'm streaming, and that's what you would talk about, but you weren't having that like joint experience, with your friends or your family members. And even like my social media feed, seeing mothers going with their kids and dads going with their kids and friends going together and people flying in, like I think it just warms your heart that even if you're not a Taylor Swift fan, just seeing that people were connecting that way, like you can't be mad at it. Like you just can't.
It just brings a smile to my face. Even I don't know, just seeing kids like that didn't know each other interacting and just having things instantly in common. Like it just felt like there was so much more of a camaraderie than I had ever felt before. And you think that would happen all the time at a concert because you're all there to see that one act, but it just felt much more integrated and seemed to kind of break down barriers for people in a way that I think, we need more of in the world.
So when did you become a Swiftie? Like, what was it? A certain album? Was it a certain song? Was it a tour that you saw? Like, when was it for you? Like, okay, this is my artist.
I have been a Taylor Swift fan since about the beginning, since the Fearless album, but I'm saying fan. Two of my friends actually, Jacob and Maggie, were the ones they were the ones who got me to move to Chicago, because I'd been living in California at the time. They really were introduced me to Taylor. I remember Fearless made me really fall in love just with her lyrically. I felt like I could really relate to her music. It felt approachable, but it was still catchy. I never really had been someone who was a big country music person, and I remember getting really sucked in there. But I can specifically recall the moment that I became a Swiftie. I had always been a fan and a pretty consistent fan, but had never seen her in concert. The 1989 album was obviously one of her best, one of my favorites. Can't wait for the re-release. And one of my best friends in Chicago, Chuck, and I, like a couple days before the show, were like, let's just buy tickets. Like that, like that was such a good album. Like it's the summer, she's at Soldier Field, let's just go. So we kind of bought them on a whim, even though we were fans, went. And I just remember when she sang All You Had to Do Was Stay off of the 1989 album, she was wearing that it was almost like a two-piece halter top and like a white short with like a black like thigh high with these like boots, like I'm describing it poorly. But it was a very popular costume from that tour, and she did that. And I remember when she was doing that, like right when the song crescendos and the chorus kicks in, she was doing what I like to call like floor work, like floor choreography, very Britney Spears. My also love affair with Britney Spears, and I just felt like in that moment, for me, she was like really channeling a pop star. And I just remember like instantly being like, you are a just force. Like you are more than I ever thought you were. And you are just giving me everything I need now. And after that, it was like off to the races. Because even when people, the general public kind of turned on her own reputation, I was a huge fan of that album. So that kind of increased it. I saw that tour 3 times too. So that was like really when it started to like ramp up. I was supposed to go to Loverfest twice. I was going to go to both of them, and then that got canceled. But that definitely, I attribute that the exact moment that I was like, I am not just a fan. That's when I became a Swiftie.
Well, I mean, let's just go back to Fearless, because You Belong With Me and Love Story not only was on country radio stations, but crossed over into pop stations. Like, I think even if you weren't, country music wasn't your like genre of music to listen to all the time, like you at least knew those songs because you heard them, everywhere. And 1989 was just that album, I think, that changed so many people because it was, inescapable. And every song was like hit after hit after hit. Like there wasn't like, oh, there's 2 good songs in this album. It was like one of those albums that you could just listen to from like beginning to end, whether you were a diehard fan or just like a casual fan.
Absolutely. And really like was groundbreaking, because think how many other pop stars in the wake of that album leaned into that 80s tinged synth pop sound that I think is very synonymous with like Taylor pop now. But I think so many other artists weren't doing that until that album, and then very much leaned into that genre because she made it hot again.
Let's talk a little bit about each of the eras and each of the albums. Was there one that you were particular like, please play like a little bit extra from this particular album or that, or the order that she went in? Like, tell me a little bit about, especially if you're going to see the movie for the first time, like, what did you get out of it?
So I was a really big Lover fan, and obviously I understood why she canceled that tour, but I was really excited for Loverfest. There will always be a small part of me that wonders what that was going to be. I have theories that it was going to be like her full Coachella show where she'd have like carnival rides and like all this like crazy like branded stuff. And I really didn't know how she was going to lean into that era. I will say I felt very satisfied with that. I feel better about missing Loverfest because I feel like you get a very strong Lover moment in the Eras tour if you are a fan. I also, because I didn't go to a tour of hers until 1989, I really wanted to hear Red. I really wanted to hear Speak Now, and I was very satisfied with those as well. And I even think too, I don't want to give too much away because I don't want to spoil it for you, but I think that, even when I think about Fearless, like it was fun to just like see the evolution of my fandom with her career, but in one moment. And I think she even like channels herself a little bit from certain eras. Like I think in her stage persona, like I think she has like fun, almost like pretending like she's the Taylor of 10 years ago. I don't want to give too much away, but I will say that she has a very extremely varied catalog, more so than most artists. And I think that I tend to like anything that Taylor does. I don't think I've ever been like, oh, I hate that album, or she just always tends to land it for me. And I think that some people like certain eras more than others. And I think that no matter what era is your favorite, there is something for everyone to get excited about. And I remember the night, my group that I went with on opening night, well, we all are obsessed with Taylor. We all gravitate towards different eras. And it was really fun to see each one of us like living in the era that we loved most. Cause it was like we almost had different parts of the show that we were most excited for. I had a girlfriend who cried like 4 times. She had never seen Taylor before. It was so great to like, 1, watch her, and 2, kind of make fun of her. And it's awesome. It's unlike anything I've ever seen before.
So movies opening up on Friday. People are, Taylor's talking about it. Other, the fans are talking about it as far as like getting dressed up, bringing the friendship bracelets, acting like this is a concert. Like you're not going to be sitting in your seats. At least I don't assume so. I guess we'll find out once after the first like screenings start taking place. If people are sitting there watching it, or if they're like, I didn't get to experience it. Like this is my moment to experience this show.
It's crazy. I can't wait to see it all unfold, and having Beyonce decide to release her tour theatrically too. I think it just really goes to show that this is becoming a moment again. And I am someone who, I've always been a movie person. I worked at a movie theater for 4 years in high school. So the movie theater, the cinema experience will always have a special place in my heart. And when that really changed in COVID, and then just that like mixed in with the streaming era, I was someone who was like patiently waiting, I feel like, for like that, for movies to have their moment again. And I feel like between like Barbie and like now, with these back-to-back concert tours, I feel like it's fun to see the movies becoming an occasion again, and to get dressed up, like you said, or to interact with people. And don't get me wrong, like the convenience of at-home streaming is amazing, but I'm excited for the theater to be something to do again, because for so long, especially when I grew up, going to the movies was our weekend. That was what I looked forward to. Like going to Regal Cinema, Westlake Promenade 11 in Cleveland, Ohio was the highlight of my entire weekend. And I'm excited that because her fan base spans so many generations too, I think it's cool that it's going to be like across the board. There's going to be all different ages of people going back to the movies.
Yeah, I mean, the only people that I kind of feel bad for, like especially this weekend, because usually the number one movie is going to be a scary movie as we're getting ready for like Halloween, is like how close this theater is to playing like the new Saw movie or Exorcist Believer. Like if you're waiting to get scared and you got a theater full of people singing, 22 or Blank Space.
I know. Literally, it's going to be like the Oppenheimer like bomb going off. It's just going to be like fans like screaming in the other room. People are going to be like, "What the heck is that noise?"
So hopefully they'll like at least space them out so that like, you're not going to be trying to be scared and everyone's going to be like screaming or cheering.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I can't wait. I mean, it's going to be all over the internet. Like fan reactions, fan audio, this or that. I think, and because it's never really been done before, I don't think people really know what to expect. So we're just going to all have to kind of watch it unfold together.
We are going to have to. Michael, thank you so much for your time today. I cannot wait. You're going on Friday opening night. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're going to the IMAX. So that I think that'll be awesome.
That'll be awesome. We'll enjoy it again. And I cannot wait. And we'll chat after the show.
Done.
I cannot wait to experience it for the first time, but I want to see your thoughts on that. And thank you for taking the time to chat with me today.
Anything for you. Enjoy the movie, and we'll talk again soon.
You're the best. Thank you.
Bye, love.
Bye-bye.